Welcome back to day 2 of team orientation. How's everyone feeling? I see a lot of sleepy faces here. Don't worry, we have got some caffeine and some skill building on the menu today. Today is all about hands-on training. So if you're bluffing about your skills yesterday, today is the day to actually learn them. Let's dive in and make it a fun one.
That's right. Today is all about equipping you with practical tools and valuable knowledge to help you thrive. We have got a fantastic lineup of sessions that will give you everything you need to succeed. So, ready to dive in? Are you all set to kick things off? Just cheer up, guys.
To start, we are thrilled to welcome a guest speaker who brings wealth of experience in software development. Now we welcome our HOD sir, Dr. U. Mohan Srinivasa Garu, onto the stage, along with our guest speaker, Moinuddin Mohammed Garu, onto the stage.
Give them a round of applause.
Moinuddin Mohammed, a software development engineer with a background in AI, FinTech and Web3.
He is associated with Google developer communities like Google Developer Group. Now, let's know more about Moinuddin. He also leads TensorFlow user group in Hyderabad, where he organizes tech events and workshops to bring the AI and machine learning community together. With expertise in mobile development, AI and community building, he is here to help us dive into our first training session.
Let's get started. Please welcome Moinuddin to say a few words and lead us through Git and GitHub training. Everyone grab your laptops. This is going to be an interactive session with quizzes, puzzles and games to keep things interesting. Let's see who can get it right.
Good morning, Malla Reddy. Good morning, MRDU. How are you guys doing? Good morning, guys. How are you? Awesome. So, guys, firstly, sorry for being late. Just to see you guys, I took a midnight flight all the way from Bombay. I was attending GMR Innovex Summit. I was representing Hyderabad over there. Today they had panel discussions. I said no, I'm going to MREC because there are a lot of energetic students there and we have to take a really good workshop. So thanks to the organizing team, thanks to the faculty and every person behind the management who is pulling this out. Shall we get started? Alright, perfect. So firstly, I wanted to start with a boring topic, intro to full stack development and VCS. Looks like an Amir Pet course, right? Yeah, so next slide please. Alright, so let's do full stack development with VCS. How does this sound? Better? So firstly guys, how many of you have tried doing their first lines of code? Of course you guys have CPDS, C programming and data structures. Apart from that, did you guys ever try doing anything like maybe a simple program or maybe a small fun project? Can I get a raise of hands? I did a small fun project. Yeah? Very less. So you guys are from first year? Okay, first years in the house, give me a cheer. Second years in the house, give me a cheer. Okay, so the first years are going to dominate their seniors now. Really. Any third years? Okay, so the organizing team is dominating everyone. Okay, great. So final years? No. Really, final years are there? Oh, great. So, you guys have to build your final year project and this might be the icing on the cake which will help you. So, before we start, how many of you have built a small fun project like I asked? Did anyone do yet? No. How about we do one today? You guys want to? Okay, so before I move ahead and I start with all the theory stuff and all, I'll let you know what I'm going to do. First, in the first part, as we planned, we'll have a complete theory session only on full stack. Alright? And post lunch, once you guys have lunch and all, you'll be energetic again, we'll go only with the hands-on session. I won't bore you with the PPT anymore. Then we'll cover Git, version control, basically Git and GitHub, these are tools. The actual concept behind this is called as version control. So there are a lot of tools to do version control as well, apart from Git and GitHub. So there is also something called as GitLab. There is Bitbucket, Code Commit. There are really crazy tools out there. So before we start, I want you to ask one thing. How many of you have been to concerts? Concerts? Or maybe any shows or something like that? Yeah? Cricket matches? Yeah? So there usually the front row seats are pricey. Yeah, right? Yes, VIP seats. Here we don't have that. It's for free. Please come to the forward and occupy the front row seats. Especially my friends at the back. So when I was in college, I used to take my gang and sit at the last. Yes. So then one guy came to me and told, "Nick code cheyadam vacha." I said, "No, I'm an IoT guy. I do embedded stuff." That guy spoiled my life and brought me into software, and I'm doing really good today. So just like that, if you have not written your first lines of code, please do. That will change the whole career path. So let's move ahead. Let's start off with a few basic things. Next slide, please. So firstly, about the agenda. Like I told, number one, basics of web. Firstly, you're building web technology, so you should know about the web, right? Not the Spider-Man one, the internet one. So then we'll go to intro to full stack, workflow, a few examples. Then first we'll do a small front-end example. Then we'll do a back-end example. Then I'll show you how to integrate these both. Alright? If you don't know what front-end and back-end is, then I'll give you a very nice, overview about that as well. And then we have VCS with Git, version control system with Git, because of course GitHub is a very popular thing among students, and it is, of course, free to use. So we'll do version control system and we'll take up Git for that. And then we have free open source software which will be available on GitHub. So guys, how many of you use Brave for skipping YouTube ads? Okay, one rule guys, don't raise your hand, give me a cheer, okay? So how many of you use Brave? Okay. People who don't know that on Brave browser, YouTube ads won't come. And Brave is open source. So every single line of code that the developers at the Brave team wrote, you can see it on GitHub. So go check it out. And also, if you know that a lot of softwares, Flutter, TensorFlow, and a lot of softwares are open source, they are on GitHub. You can go check their code out, learn something from it, it'll be cool. So that part is called as FOSS, free open source software. And then at the last, the demos which we'll make, the small project which we'll make, we'll add it to GitHub from locally. Usually I know how you guys will do. You will put the project in one window, open GitHub in the Chrome, drag and drop the files, right? That is a very wrong way of doing it. So let's say if you have 10,000 files to commit, then you will be dragging and dropping them one by one. That will create a lot of fuss. So that is what version control software does. So that is it guys. Before that, how many of you have seen me speaking before at any event? Okay, maybe the organizers. Yeah. So first, I'll give a small intro about myself. Firstly, thank you so much for such a great intro. So basically, I'm next slide. Yeah, so basically I'm a software development engineer. I specialize in working with Flutter, machine learning, and slowly we are moving into Web3 as well. So my most of the work is in fintech. We work with stocks, share market, and all that stuff. And that's why even if I'm taking a leave, they call me and trouble me. So also guys, one small thing over here. Guys at the last, can you hear me? Okay, because when I said one last thing, I didn't see you looking at me, so that's why I asked. Okay, chill. So yeah, one thing here, there are a lot of tech communities in Hyderabad. There are a lot of them. So I recommend you guys to go to the events which are conducted by them, because number one, you'll build a good network. Number two, when you move around with the people who are like a geek mindset, like your mindset, because see, you guys want to learn, right? You guys want to grab a great job somewhere in a great company, maybe JP Morgan, maybe somebody who's doing really cool stuff like Brave, of course, like Flutter, TensorFlow. You might want to join their engineering teams, and people like those come to these sessions. They share their knowledge, and it increases your level of knowledge on a whole another level. So this is a really good advice that I give you, and this thing has changed my way of thinking a lot. So from being a part of that to leading them for the whole city and representing my city on a world stage, this gives me a great, what do we say, you can say pride. Also, it gives me great opportunities as well. So I recommend you doing that. Also, how many of you are part of Google developer groups on campus in MREC? Do we have GDG in MREC? No, it's an MRDU, right? So basically, that person sitting there used to lead it. Now we onboarded her. So this is how we make communities and we onboard potential people. Next slide. So for today, we have 3 things: front end, back end, open source, like I said. Next. So starting with, firstly guys, to understand full stack, we need to understand how the web works. So how many of you have seen that text? Lorem ipsum and all. That's a, what do we say, template text we tell. How many of you have seen it ever? No one. Organizers, you'll see it every day, I know. Because your templates, all your posters and all, first will contain this. After that, you'll edit it. So this is how it happens, guys. So if you guys have seen this on the web, then this basically states that that website is static, not dynamic. It is not getting data from the backend. So to understand how the web works, understand it like this. Let's say, how many of you go to libraries? Oh, why? You're laughing, really? Library is a cool place. Really, it's a cool place. You make great friends in libraries. So library has a ton of books, right? Does it, okay, by the way, do you guys have a CSE specific library? No, right? It's a common library for everyone, right? So let's say you're from CSE, you go to a library. In that, you want to read something. I know you guys want to read textbooks. You're PDF dependent. I know that, but let's say if you want to read somehow. So you go to library. In that, you go to the CSE section if you're from CSE, right? And in the CSE section, you'll go to the related, what do we say, whatever domain it is. Let's say if you're learning about CPDS, you go to the CPDS row. From that CPDS row, you pick up one particular book which has one particular author or maybe one publication, right? So just like that, what the front end does is, from the whole pool of data that is lying on the web, it simply pulls something that is required for it. That is how this whole stuff works. That is how the web works. We simply, what do we say, put some data over there, just like somebody, the college, what do we say, management, somebody, they put the books there, right? So you can take the library as a huge server, a big server with a lot of stuff. And we, based on our application, we go pick up the necessary required books over there. So if there are no books, just to show we need to put something, and that text is that. So this is basically how the web works. I'll tell you in a better way. Next slide. So firstly, there was supposed to be an image over there. Okay, anyways, so I'll tell you what that image is. It didn't load. So you guys have been to restaurants, right? Restaurants, hotel, dhaba, whatever. The waiter comes and asks, sir, what do you want to eat? Right? Happens. What do you guys don't have eventful lives? You don't go to eat with your friends or family? You guys go, right? Yeah. So what happens is, the waiter comes and asks, sir, what do you want to eat? If you say biryani, will he bring biryani or will he bring something else? Right? And if in Hyderabad, if he brings something else when you order biryani, that person will be beaten. I know that. So basically there was a picture where 2 people are sitting on a table and one waiter is serving them. So the people who are sitting on the table, you guys, are called as the client. Even in business terms, you are called as a client. Even in software terms, you are called as a client. And the person who serves you is called as a server. So now again, relate this with a library example. There is a lot of food in the kitchen. You've asked for biryani. He went there, brought biryani and gave it to you. So that is how it happens. But before that, you need to have a requirement, right? You need to request for something. You need to put your order. That in software terms is called as a request. So how many of you wrote any Jupyter notebook over here in machine learning, or you might have just seen it? Did you ever? Okay, so later on when you try some stuff, when you import any library in Jupyter notebook, it will have the word called as requests. So there is a separate library in Python called as requests, but basically what it does is the client requests something. For example, I'm requesting a video from YouTube. I want to see a very nice video, maybe RRR's title track. I love it, man. I love the title track. So I'm requesting it. Now it's the server's responsibility to take this request, process it, and give the whatever the video is or whatever it is, right? So that is what the client does and that is what the server does. Now I'll ask you a question. And should I give a gift if you guys answer right? Yes? Okay, for that we'll have a quiz at the last. So for people who have attended my sessions, the quiz will be the most interesting part. We know, and even yesterday a lot of people liked it. So now guys, tell me, the client comes on the front end or the back end? Okay, we'll clear that confusion in the next slide. So yeah, next. So let's see. The client is requesting for youtube.com and the server, basically, like what do we say, the server is providing him some HTML or anything. Basically it is providing with some video. If success is like, let's say if you have good internet connection, let's say if you have a bad internet connection, it might fail, and again it will give you a response. 100% the backend will give you a response, but it can be in two ways. One, it can be a success, it will give you the things you need. Two, it can be a error and you will get a error response. For example, how many of you have seen 404 not found? Yeah, so during your results, the server will have a lot of traffic and it will throw some error on the web. Everybody will be seeing something. So this is what is happening. So it is basically on your request, whenever you click the head button, making a request for your result, and the server is getting a lot of traffic, a lot of requests all of a sudden, and it is throwing you an error saying that, see, many people are already waiting, please check it later. Result adi untadi maradu. So it is saying that basically, that is the error, right? So that is how it happens. The client requests and the server responds. This is clear for everyone? Is that clear? Okay, that this was supposed to be a joke. Is that clear antaremo anukunna, but thank you for not doing that. So next slide. Yeah. So this exactly is the representation how the client and server works. Also, that thing is not a fridge, it's a server. But the place where it is kept is literally like a fridge, because servers generate a lot of heat, they generate a lot of computational power, so they are kept in a very cool environment. So basically guys, that is you sitting in front of your computer. So basically everything that is on this side is the front end. Everything that you cannot see, it is somewhere in the Silicon Valley, it is somewhere in some Amazon center, that falls in the back end. So people who write code for this side are front-end developers. People who write code for that side are back-end developers. People who do both are full stackers. So basically, in the front end, let's say when you open Google, you might have opened Google a lot of times, especially at the neck of the moment when exams come, you open Google, you open Stack Overflow, right? So what do you see first? You see a lot of elements, right, on the screen. Any elements can you name? Text, yeah. Then search bar, yes. Any other elements? Yeah. And what else? Buttons, click buttons, right? Submits, text box, yeah, and a lot of elements. So all of these make the front end. Everything that is on the presentation layer. You guys know OSI model? Yes? Third years and fourth years. If you don't know OSI model, it means you've copied in the exam. So yeah, fourth years and third years. I think computer networks is in third year for you, right? OSI model. Yeah. So that is why they teach you this stuff in engineering. You guys don't learn that and come to this course. So I'll tell you the OSI model now. It has many layers. I won't explain each of them. Starting from software till hardware, till the cable. So let's take only the software layers. The first layer is called as a presentation layer, where everything is software, everything is presented on your screen. that people who develop that layer are front-end developers, because everything they develop is on the screen. It can be a website, it can be an application, it can be any single thing. So it can also be an exe file. So how many of you played old games, Road Rash, NFS Underground, Counter-Strike? That comes in an exe file, right? .exe. So that executable Windows file, basically a Windows batch file, is also a front-end part. So that is the catch. So now, the client, as I've written, how the browser sends requests and processes responses and managing interactions with the user. So everything the user interacts with, a button, every single thing, it is recorded in the front end itself and it is sent to the backend as a request. For example, on click of this button, I want to do this. This happens in the front end. Now, what will happen after that? That is supposed to be in the backend. So once the server receives your request for youtube.com, then it have to process. So like I've written over there, the server handles the request, processes it, often querying a database. Now, do you guys think that, okay, any YouTubers, influencers, Instagram reel makers? I won't tell her name. I was about to say this girl is saying someone else's name, but okay. So guys, you ever edited a video? Yes. If you save it in 1080p with something around 60 FPS, let's say a 10-second video, how much space does it require? 50 MB, more than 50 MB sometimes. Just a 10-second video, just because it has 60 FPS, right? Now there are videos on YouTube which are for hours together, and they are sometimes more than 60 FPS, 90 FPS there are, and there are 4K videos which are far beyond 1080. How do you think YouTube stores this? See, the application in your phone, the YouTube application, it is of the same size. Sometimes because of user data, it might increase 1 or 2 megabytes, but how do you think this GBs of data, how does it get stored? Any random guesses? Where does it get stored? Somebody said cloud. Okay, what if it rains? Will it fall down? So I'll tell you. So basically there is something called as a database. So these things, these fridge kind of things, what you see, and you might have seen a very beautiful room with all of these servers lined up. It has got very blingy lights, very nice kind of lights and all. So they call it data center proudly. So these are the places where the data is stored. And there is one database in our local which references to it. So that is what is called as querying. Remember this word. Irrespective of any programming language, these concepts remain the same. Irrespective of the framework, you can use any framework in the world. Full stack concepts stay the same. Every single concept stays the same. Machine learning concepts, the conceptual thing of this stays the same. It is called as data querying. It is called as a database. It is called as client and server, request response, exceptions and errors. So this is the thing. So let's say you ask for a video, it will query the data. There will be millions of data in that. Millions and millions of data. It will particularly query the particular data which you want, and then it will send the response. So this is how the stuff will happen. Let's say you requested something, immediately you will get a response or an error, but definitely a response will come. So now guys, think all of this stuff happens in how much time? Even if it is a very huge video of very huge amount of data, guess how much time does it take for a request to get processed, executed and delivered? How many milliseconds? It is specific on the application, but I've never seen anything going more than 10 milliseconds. After 10 milliseconds, it is called as timeout. 10 milliseconds is the kind of, what do we say, ideal cutoff for a backend server to respond to you. Either it will throw an error or it will give you the required content. But definitely in 10 milliseconds you have to get a response, or else you might miss your headshot, right? So now imagine guys, PUBG lovers in the house. Give me a cheer. Oh, sorry, it got changed to some new name, right? BGMI, okay. I played it very rarely. I'm a Call of Duty guy. I play Warzone in my PC with my friends. Now after I moved to some other place away from Hyderabad, my PC and all, I'm missing it. So now understand how much of processing is going on in a game. That other person is moving, continuous interaction, requests and responses are happening, multiple requests and responses are happening, and you are moving continuously, right? These requests and responses are happening. In this time, you are taking correct aim at the head of a person and shooting him. Now see how much latency this is, how much very less latency and how fast this bandwidth is. This is crazy, right? Now if your ping goes up just 5 milliseconds, will you take the headshot or miss it? Now that's the catch. So once the ping goes here and there, ping basically, people who don't know ping, it is the time taken for the response to travel. Okay, if the response is traveling in 27 milliseconds, the ping is 27. So the travel time is called as the ping. Okay. So, okay, ping is this. What is debounce? You've never heard of it? Okay, acha, people from EC are not there, right? Okay, in signal processing you have this debouncing concept. So debounce is the intentional given time. Let's say I want something to happen after 5 seconds. So I give a debounce of 5 seconds. So for the API. Yeah, next slide. Alright, so next. Perfect. How does it work? So guys, coming to the workflow, this is something very, very important. Just have a bit of focus over here. So now, like I told, there is a client which is requesting, that is done, and then the backend processes it, like I told. Then a database interaction happens. Like the library example I gave, consider the library as a database. You are querying that one particular book and taking it. Also the restaurant example, you are going to a restaurant, particularly ordering that one part of food and getting it. So this is how it goes. And that is basically called as the database interaction. You are querying some data, getting that data. Till here it's clear? Pakka? That lovely gang at the last, clear? My friends, clear? Oh, there is another gang on the left. I didn't notice. Hi guys. Yeah, they can see me. So I thought you were not seeing me. So anyways, that is one thing. And then the server gives you a response. Here the server gives you either an error if it fails or a good response. Then the UI update. So now guys, let's say the first 4 points happen. If the UI is not updated, guess what will happen? This usually happens when basically the response is corrupted or something happens. Basically the request response stuff is completed. The UI is not updated. Now that is a backend developer's fault or a front-end developer's fault. And we are good at pointing out people. No, now you can point out. So if something in the UI is not updated, is it front-end developer's fault or the backend ones? Front ends, because everything that comes on the UI side, the front end guy is responsible of it. The processing part, the backend part, the logic part, the backend guy is responsible for it. So let's say client request, this is also on the front end. Why? Because the client is the user, right? He's requesting something. If the button is not clicking properly, it is again the front end developer. Now coming to backend processing, database interaction, server response. This is the backend guy's responsibility. Okay, the database should give you the right data. It should query the right data. It should not give you a corrupted response. It should not give you a random response. And basically the backend processing, it should not take a lot of time so that that buffering symbol comes, right? So that should not happen. So all of these things are the backend guy's responsibility. Now guys, imagine something. Now you will be able to understand. This circle will complete. Client request, backend will process it, database interaction will happen, you'll get your data. That data will be sent as a response to you and the UI will be updated. Once the UI is updated, again you might make another request like reels. One by one you scroll it. One by one the request and response happens, and then the UI is updated accordingly. Sometimes when you are scrolling the reels very fast, it becomes gray. It happened. This is, what do we say, a phenomenon, something called as pagination. So basically, now let's say I'm querying 1,000 files at once. How can my front end handle it? Also guys, I'll ask this in the quiz, by the way, remember this, okay? Something called as pagination. So, how many of you have carried books to some other place? Let's say the assignment, you have got books for assignment, right? Those thin books. Okay, so maybe records. So some sir said, "Arey, bring these records to me, I have to correct them." You take all the records from your class. How many CRs over here? CRs, give me a cheer. CRs have a different level of fan following. CRs have more fan following than me, than these people organizers. So, chupista, puli chirutani chupista. Okay, so fine. So guys, like I was telling, this CR, what he does, he takes all the files. Maybe let's say 60 people in a class, 60 in one section in CSE, right? Yeah. So he takes 60 records, holds it, and he's like, "Arey, chala baruga unnaira," right? So now he calls his friend, the other CR who's not supposed to be a CR, the CR's close friend. They share 30-30, right? Now if these both are healthy, they have biryani every day, they are strong, they can carry these 30 records. If they are thin, they are weak, they cannot carry, right? Again they'll split 15, 15, 15. So querying data in batches is called as pagination. So once the first batch is done, it loads. The second batch comes, it loads. So also guys, did you ever reach this in Instagram? When you are scrolling, there is a small buffering thing that comes at the last. Did it happen ever? It means you scroll a lot. Because Instagram has the capacity to handle a lot of data. Their pagination request is very high. You scroll so much that this thing came. So this is how it goes. Data comes in batches, because let's say if you are querying 1,000 files at once, 1,000 posts at once, in the front end it will be a problem to load it. So basically the load increases, just like the load increased on the CR, then he shared it. So the load increases and it might get slow and something in the front end might crash. So that's why we bring it in batches. So let's have a detailed overview. You guys want to see an example? Okay, and next slide please. So pretty boring now? Yeah? So let's just see the headings. Let's just see client request. The client initiates an action. Okay? Done. Backend processing. The backend server receives the request, interprets it. Okay? Very okay. Database interaction. This we already discussed. Server response. The backend sends a HTTP response back to the front end, often containing data in JSON format. So guys, why JSON? Why? Okay, another question. So let's say that this CR is a best friend of the other section CR. The other section CR is sick. Sir has to correct all the records today because tomorrow is the last date and we submit right on the last date. So yes, right? We do? Yeah. You are agreeing to it, are? Konni vaatiki no cheppali. So yeah, no, that guy is intelligent. So so the other section CR is, he's sick, he didn't come today. So this poor guy, he has to carry all the records of both the sections together. Will it be heavy or light? Very heavy. So instead he thinks, what if I click the pictures of everything? Because sir doesn't want to correct it, he just wants to see the roll number. Or else, what if I bring a trolley kind of something, put it on that and bring. So basically, it is making data lighter. So if you send a complete picture which is of 4-5 MB, now sending 1000 pictures which makes 5000 MB at once in 10 milliseconds, that is very what do we say, heavy computation, like you say. Your CPUs and the servers won't support this kind of processing. So what happens is, there JSON data comes. JSON is basically the lightest format. So I'll show it in the hands-on. Basically JSON is like, do you guys know data structures? Everybody passed CPDS? Computer Programming Data Structures is subject, right? Or you guys are Art 20 or 22? 21. Okay, 24. I'm from R17. So in our times, it used to change every 5 or 10 years. Now it's changing every 2 years. I don't know why. So I think after R22, they split the subjects. CP, computer programming, is a different subject, and data structure is a different subject, right? Okay, so in data structures, you have something called as key value pairs. Okay, I understood. You guys didn't go to the classes. You guys went to the canteen. So I'll tell you what. Do you guys have a good canteen? You hang out there? No. Okay, where do you guys hang out? You bunk and go where? Basketball court. Pretty interesting. So, anyways, so basically, key value. It is like a structured data. Basically, there is a key. For example, food items, and the value of it will be a list of food items. Okay. So now basic programming again. Everything that goes between square braces is array, list, right? Everything that goes between quotation marks is string, yeah. Everything that goes between curly braces is not CR, object. So in this object there are key value pairs, because in this curly braces there can be multiple stuff. There can be a lot of things. So to remember all the values uniquely, you need a key. So JSON is exactly that. A huge, amount of objects wrapped again in curly braces. So that is JSON. So basically this JSON data again you bring to the front end, make some beautiful UI out of it. I'll show you how. I'll show it in the hand-on session. Then the front end update. Okay, so basically let's say you're querying something from YouTube. I'm taking the example of YouTube because it's a video, it's large data, right? Next slide. So yeah, like fetching something from YouTube. Next. So see, somebody, people at the back, can you see this? Okay, that's why I asked who sees YouTube videos one day before exam. So this is the user action on the front end. So basically, here guys, tell me what is the request. I don't know the answer to it because even I did not find the answer to it till date. Till date I'm learning. Till date I'm doing machine learning research and all. Sometimes I get the thought of doing a PhD, but I don't find time out of work. So till date I'm learning, but I never found out the answer for that. So basically, our request is the string which goes into the search bar, right? How to pass without studying in a string, that goes as a request. Now, when will this request hit? When should the request get initiated? Yes, exactly. When the search button is clicked. Godva inda. Settle chedda. But demo tarvata, okay? Later. Or else, Malla Reddy sir is a good friend of mine. Last time I called him, he said, "Kashtapadu panijai." Success out. So please, Godo Badakandi, Kashtapadandi, follow your chairman. He's the most successful guy, by the way. People take him in funny terms, but he's the most successful businessman in India. So that is the request. So our request is what? The search text that goes in between the quotation marks, basically a string, and that gets triggered when we hit the button. So wherever we write the button on the front end, we have to write some logic. Got it? So basically, what logic you want to write? Also, how many of you use Discord? Give me a cheer, Discord users. So whenever, let's say you click some sticker or some interaction, some confetti pops up. That is a very good animation, right? So all of that logic goes in the button itself. On click of this button, pop that confetti, show this animation, send the request. All of this happens in that logic. So this is done. Next, what happens? Let's see. The next slide. Yeah. Is it loading? Timeout. One step back. Perfect. So here now what happens is backend request processing happens. So like you said, guys, I'll tell you what happens with a cloud now. So, how many of you have mobile phones? Okay, did somebody ever got a chance to use that Nokia Dabba phones? The unbreakable Nokia phones? Yeah. So now what happens is, let's say on your phone you have something called as Drive, right? Google Drive, right? And in the newer coming phones, they have their own cloud. Like Samsung has its own cloud, Microsoft has OneDrive, and rich people who buy Apple Cloud. Somebody has Apple Cloud? No? Somebody has an iPhone? Okay, so Apple Cloud again. So basically what happens is, if you take a picture, it automatically gets saved. Not on the local device, on the cloud, in Google Photos basically, right? Have you guys tried this? So once you open Google Photos, if you log in some other phone also, they'll get rendered, right? So it's like a shared database. So remember this word, shared database. So number one, the Nokia phone, local database. Okay, whatever we are writing, whatever we are saying, saving, it is in that mobile only. If that is lost, all your data is lost. So basically this used to happen when I think even 10 years ago, when people purchase phones, they have to one by one save all the contacts into the new phone. This happened. I think till date people struggle to save contacts, because yeah, contacts usually get saved to the SIM or the phone's memory. Now that is your local database. Got it, guys? Now just like that, a lot of companies, when they make the backend, they put their database somewhere on the server. Some companies, they put it on the cloud. So the cloud and the server both are almost the same thing, but I'll tell you the difference later. So basically, cloud is something that gives you multiple services together. Server is something that gives you one service. It is made for serving. It will serve. That's it. Serve in the sense it will have your data. It will have your data safe and sound, and whenever you require, whenever. But cloud is something that gives you 100 things to do with it. You can analyze your data. You can use your DB for some other integration. You can add AI analytics, something like that, on your database. So all of that happens on the cloud side. And cloud also gives you some automation functionalities, which the, what do we say, non-cloud server does not give. So for this, people sometimes, how many of you know Firebase? Firebase, anyone? Okay, so basically Firebase also is one kind of backend as a service tool, which has its own, what do we say, database. It's called as Firestore. So whatever you guys save, it's on Firestore server now. You need not purchase a server, you need not go to Amazon's office and be like, I want this one server, right? So it is somewhere on the cloud, because it is a shared database, like I told, like Google Photos. Google Photos, Google Drive, this is a classic example of telling this. So just like that, now YouTube is a huge thing. It has got millions of videos, and on that millions of videos, there is a lot of data as well. For example, the likes, the subscriber count, right? For how many subscribers do we get the silver button? 1 lakh. Okay, so all of this data basically, YouTube needs to calculate it, because let's say you become a big YouTuber, you reached 1 lakh, YouTube didn't count it well, their server made a mistake, you didn't receive the silver button or golden button, something, you will be angry, right? Natural. So all of these things, all of these analytics, all of this, hardcore computation happens on the cloud, because cloud is something like a virtual machine. It does not require a manual CPU. Manual CPU as in, let's say, any NVIDIA lovers, people who play games, GPUs, right? To process all those graphics, you need a GPU. Just like that, to process multiple tasks, let's say hardcore computation at once, you need a powerful CPU. That is given by the cloud, if it is not provided by the server. So that's why companies use cloud, because it provides very good computational power with the database. So this is what happens. In cloud, once you do the request and then you, get a very nice framed response from somewhere in the cloud. Got it? And then what happens is YouTube API throws a response to you. Now guys, what will happen over here is you won't get the whole video. You'll get something called as metadata. Okay, Anybody have seen this word anywhere? Metadata? Not Facebook, which converted into meta. This is different. Metadata is one word. Okay. So just to confuse us, that guy named its company names Meta. So basically, like I told again, if you save a 1080, guys, just a minute, hang on. You guys are being a bit bored, is it? Am I going too fast? Too slow? Medium speed? Telugulo matladala? No. English is fine. Tamil pesana. Was it right? Was it right? Okay. I'm slowly learning stuff. Because since I moved to Bangalore, I'm learning all the languages. So it's not right. Okay. So somehow I wanted to wake you guys up. I woke you up. Now listen. So guys, imagine from that door how many people can go at once? 3, 4. 4. Can you fit an elephant there? Yes. Bhargav can fit there. Elephant cannot fit. So even 10 Bhargavs can fit, but elephant cannot fit. Because see, again. Okay, Bhargav, give all their names. I will ask your HOD not to give them attendance. Done. Give all their names. Chalo, ho gaya. Okay, next. Okay, guys, back to database. Okay, back to our elephant story. Now, imagine this huge video. If you have to send all of this in the response, it will be very difficult, right? It will basically require more computation. So, like I told, instead of for text, for images and all, we can send JSON data. But for things like videos, for audio, what do we send is metadata. Even for images, we send metadata. So, is referenced somewhere, and then the user pulls the image on their phone. So I'll show it how it happens. The next slide. So the next one. Yeah. So like I told, see guys, the backend does not store the actual video file. Because just like I told, it's huge. We cannot pass 1,000 people from that door. Only 2 to 4 can go. That is why it holds only the metadata temporarily. That too temporarily until it comes on the front end. Once we use it up, that's it, it's gone. A new set of data will be generated. Then what happens? Look at this thing very carefully. So the front end receives and renders the response. How many have you heard this word, render? People who play games, PUBG and all, they would have definitely heard render. Because sometimes when you have slow connection, the mountains, the houses, they won't properly be seen. Pancham Diggar kelte, then suddenly a house will appear from out of the blue. Did it happen anytime? Yeah. So this is called as rendering. So basically the house was not rendered. Got it? So just like maybe your marks are not rendered, it is not your fault. It is the ones who did correct it. Manam corrector asam, correction sarigga cheyaledu. Ante kada. So just like that, the developers did not develop it properly. Our connection is fine. Even if we have 1,000 ping, it is fine, but the developers didn't develop it properly. Correct? Yes. So the data is not rendered properly. So here what happens is, when you receive all that metadata, then the rendering happens. Slowly the video comes up, or the image, or the 3D object in your game, whatever is there, that comes up. So till here it's cool? Yeah? Fine. Thoda louder. Yes? Cool. So then what happens is, once the data is rendered, we need to somehow like play it, then allow the user to go back, go forward, and just like play around with it. So then we have to use something called as a, what do we say, in UI there is a widget. So we call this widgets. People who use Samsung phones, you might have known widgets. So in various frameworks, they are called as widgets itself. So we use something called as a video player widget to play videos. And then we have something called as, what do we say, image rendering library. That is also a library, and in that you have the image rendering widget. We use that to show images. So in Drive, maybe, how many of you go to those, camera photo shoots? Did you guys ever try? Yeah, so once you upload that file in Drive, once you click on that, firstly a blurred version will come. It happened. First the file is blurred, then once it loads, it's clear. Happened. So that is the catch. So basically, it is rendered on the front end, on our part. So it takes some time. Once this widget is completely built, all the bits, basically bit by bit the data comes, then it is properly rendered. So fine with here, fine with this? Okay, so shall we close? You guys understood everything? No? Hands on? Quiz? Okay, quiz at the last. Guys, I'm giving all the answers right now, and I'm not expecting you guys will answer anything wrong. So let's see. So just like you saw the last part. So how many of you wrote HTML? Any idea about that? Basic HTML. Also, is there any subject related to it in your coursework? Some people have, some people who said no. Okay, fine. So basically HTML is nothing. It is a language, it's a markup language which puts all of these things together, elements basically. So then what happens is, we write some HTML, it is the skeleton to it. For example, what do we say? Any civil people over here? Civil mechanical? No, only software, right? Okay, so you guys might have seen buildings being constructed. First thing, just some pillars, slab is right? So how does it look? Does it look like a furnished home? No. Then they slowly raise the walls and they do this, plastering on that. You've seen that. At that time, the house will be very cool because of all that water curing and all. Ever did this? Ever went into that kind of house? So this kind of house is now HTML because everything is in its basic, lightest and what do we say, raw form. So what happens is we render the what do we say, picture, whatever it is, first on HTML because it should load faster. It should load as fast as you can. Or else, let's say if it loads slow, what you'll do? You'll get irritated. You'll close the application, right? Everything should happen fast. The moment you click, it should load. So first, remember this, guys. This is the whole front-end development. What do we say? Workflow. First, the HTML part. Then, on the top of it, there is some designing, styling, all of those, fancy colors. They load. Then, what should happen after that is decided by a third party controller in your, like a controller file. Okay, language, JavaScript. Also guys, one small question, JavaScript and Java, are they common? Pakka? JavaScript, Java, Ragi Java, are they common? Different, right? Okay, cool. So just like I told, once the UI is rendered, then what should happen? Should it get saved? Should it just stay there? Or else should it be removed so that we save memory? All of this logic we write in something called as a controller in JavaScript. Okay, so the HTML, the skeleton first. Okay, consider this as the building. Now they paint it. Some people put I forgot its name, lapam. Yeah, all of that decoration part basically. Decoration part is the styling. So there is something called as CSS, styling, cascading style sheets we use. So all of that decoration part on top of the raw data. First this loads, then the styling loads, then all that, what do we say, wiring and all that, what do we say, fancy bulbs, lamps which you put, all this automation stuff which you put. If you click that switch, which bulb should glow, right? Also, did sometime an electrician do any fault at your home? If you click the actual switch, something else glows. Happened because internally the wiring gets mixed up. It means the logic, the business logic of that very widget has got messed up. Got it? So that is where, that is why DSA is important. People find it very, also, how many of you find DSA boring? DSA, data structures. Everyone. I know those people find it, you guys find it boring, definitely. But data structures can get you placed in a very good company. And this is the reason why DSA is important. It's not something like Ultra Pro Max important. It is just kind of important to understand it, because we have to write good logic. If we mess up in the logic, again, if you turn on the lights, the speakers will turn on. Okay? So yeah, next slide. So this is the catch. If you guys want to take a picture, or should I send it in some group or somewhere? Okay, cool. So I've got the documentation, all these notes, and some more resources. I'll send it to the organizers. They'll send it in the group. Okay. So next slide. So guys, how many of you have seen these? Anyone familiar with this? Okay. So one moment, I'll ask a question. Also guys, if you answer, I'll try to give some small goodie. Not now, later. In the front end stack, at the last, above JS, what is that? Anyone? No, above JS, not above CSS. V, something like a V is there, right? What is it used for? What is Vue.js used for? Answer is right in front of you. Exactly. See, you guys lost. The seniors lost. So it is used for front-end development. That's it. Nothing more. So nothing much of a serious answer you guys can give. So guys, basically these are frameworks. So I'll tell you why. Now let's say there is a huge building you want to construct. For example, Malla Reddy College. It's huge, right? There are 10 colleges. That I got lost. Literally, I got lost. I went to some other college, then I came back. I came to, okay, this is MREC. There is MRU, there is MRECW. So there are a lot of colleges. So now the team, what do we say? What do we call him? I forgot its name again. Mestri. Yeah, the Mestri has a nice team who constructed this one house, right? This one home. Will that team be enough to construct this college? No. We need something bigger, right? We need something faster. We need newer tools. So just like that, also, how many of you make Maggie? Hostelers, give me a cheer. You guys make Maggie by your own? Okay. Now let's say, if you are making Maggie for all of your friends, can you make it in whatever you may, the bowl or whatever the small stuff you have? Can you do it? No, you need a bigger stuff, right? So just like that, if there are bigger and more complex things to make, then you use these frameworks. At that time, HTML, CSS and something like just simple JavaScript logic will not be enough. So to write core logic, let's say to make fancy websites, like you might have seen great websites. When you click a button, suddenly something pops up. You feel like your college website also should be the same like that? Yeah, so take it as a challenge, guys. Learn React or learn Angular. Propose to your college that this is a better website, this is all the animations are there, and we can do it like this. But the logic part should be very well addressed. So that is where JavaScript comes. So also guys, we covered the front end stack, that is React. Basically, the molecule type thing which you see in on the top left, atom kind of thing, that is React, and on the right is its competitor Angular. So these are called as frameworks. So what this framework does, it basically gives you this tool, gives you this team, it gives you pre-written functions, it gives you pre-written widgets, all these fancy stuff, so that you can make a better front end. So guys, React is whose product? Anyone knows? Not Facebook. Meta. So that Meta, is it open source? How many of you say yes? How many of you say no? Check it up if it is open source or not. So homework, okay? In lunch, check it up. If how many of these frameworks are open source? Because we are going to discuss about Git and GitHub, right? Check it up. And then Angular is made by Google. So basically Angular people and React people, they keep fighting that ours is better. But when I develop, it feels like both are the same. Both made the same mistakes. Nobody tried to cover the loopholes which the other frameworks are making. So guys, that is React and that is Angular. So firstly, how you have to learn this is, number one is HTML, CSS. Once you make the small project in this, then once you learn JavaScript, you can enable these things. Okay? Clear till here? Okay, now coming to the hard part. How many of you know that symbol right beside Microsoft.NET, right beside React? What is it? Have you ever coded in C#? Okay, if you code for 10 minutes in C#, you will get headache for 20 minutes. Is it real? Yes. Okay, how many of you coded in C, and C++? You guys did because you had the coursework for it. You might have these building a palindrome, right? Detecting a palindrome, and then what is this again? Arithmetic operations in C++. Bubble sort, yeah, bubble sort. Yes, everybody knows bubble sort. So I'll tell you what happened. There is one guy. I don't know from which college he is. I was interviewing him. So in his resume, there were great projects. Great projects. One project was on React, one project was on something else. There is another thing called as Vue. Oh, sorry, I mentioned Vue, right? So that is the next upcoming framework for React. So great projects, very nice. But in DSA he failed. He was not able to do bubble sort. We had to reject him. So why I asked exactly bubble sort is, if you can do bubble sort, you can do backend. That's it, nothing more. You just need to know how the code flows. Okay, so for example, let's say I'll ask a question. Okay, suddenly if we say that, okay, you guys can go for lunch. First, if the front row gets up and goes, will it be easier? Or if the last row gets up and goes, will it be easier? Front row, right? Or else the front row from this door, last row from this door, slowly one by one will go, and easily, efficiently the auditorium will be cleared. Suddenly if everyone get up, suddenly you guys go, will it be efficient? Will it be fast? That exactly is called as time complexity and space complexity when it comes to data structures. So what is the fastest way to do it? Bubble sort is not the fastest way. There are more sorting algorithms, but this is what is a very important requirement when you're developing logic based things, both in front end and back end. That is why people till date C# based backend systems and .NET based backend systems. Microsoft .NET is another really good framework for backend. So if a general backend developer who has learned new age technologies is earning something like let's say 10 rupees, I won't say any package names because there are a lot of packages outside. Let's say he earns 10 rupees, a .NET developer will be given double, because a lot of huge systems of a lot of companies, a lot of old companies basically, huge projects are built on .NET and they are very robust. So .NET is something that you guys need to have an eye on. So I've been doing .NET very recently, since a year or so, with one of my friends. I hope she also came here for Flutter workshop. Did Vaishnavi ever come to MREC? No, right? Yeah, so we'll do a Flutter workshop again if time permits. So we both also will try to do some .NET, if not today, maybe later. So then there is PHP, which is very old, but still people use it because like I told, a lot of their projects are on PHP and all. Guys, what is that in between? EX. Express. So guys, these things, Node, Express, React, and there is one database called as Mongo. All of these make up something called as MERN stack. MERN. Did you ever hear this name? Yes? Maybe some startup companies said, we are looking for a MERN stack developer. What is this MERN stack? The MongoDB, that is a database, that is a kind of database. So just like I told, local databases and all, right? So there are different kinds of databases as well. So we have different tools for that. So Mongo, then comes Express, then comes React, then comes Node.js. So Node.js is a kind of, I can say new, not People have been using it since a very long time, but comparatively to C#, PHP and .NET, it is new. So very, what do we say, new age things like, I'm not finding a proper example. How many of you use Airbnb? Maybe no. So big companies like which are new age startups who became very famous, they became unicorns, they use Node. Also, any other languages other than this, do you guys know? Other frameworks, sorry, for front end or back end? Spring Boot, yeah, somebody said Spring Boot. Yes, Spring Boot. And anything else? Go. Next.js and Nest.js, they are very new. They are like infants. People are slowly using them. So, anybody knows Go? Rust? Yes, so guys, remember these names, Go and Rust. Developers of Go and Rust will be having huge demand in the future. Huge demand. That is why I'm slowly trying to learn Go. Because how many of you know Razorpay? Razorpay, you guys might have did those QR payments, right? If you go to a dhaba or something, he shows you a QR in a small machine, right? On that machine, there will be this logo, Razorpay. Have you seen it? So, Razorpay's whole backend, completely, all of their systems are on Go. Payments companies have to be very fast, they have to be very safe and secure, and they have chosen Go for it. So, they told go for it and they choose Go, and Go is a product of Google. It is very well maintained. So, if you are focusing on backend, I suggest you guys either go for the older things or the stable things. Don't go for the newer ones. There is something called as Nest, N-E-S-T. I have not even mentioned it over here, because what happens is, as you guys as students, you see something that is new, for example the iPhone 16, you get excited, you want to have it, right? How many of you want to have the iPhone 16?